بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين له الحمد الحسن والثناء الجميل وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على رسول الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وهدى وتقى يا رب العالمين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. After praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He's the only one worthy of all praise, the irresistible, the perfect, the sublime, the one who sent each one of His messengers one after another to us humanity, that we may be guided aright to the best of the human potential. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon all His messengers, the last of whom is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon his family and companions and followers. To proceed, the topic of today's khutbah is a slightly different one. I had been preparing for a particular message, but I felt very strongly that this particular message, instead of the one that had been prepared for some time, would be something that we need to mention. And so I want to summarize today's khutbah in the following points. The first point, brothers, is that the importance of you, brothers and sisters, attending the gatherings of learning and knowledge. We need to be a community that attends our gatherings of learning. And what I want to try and explain to you today is the value of that in a way which, if you ask me to try and explain, maybe it's not easy, but it's easy enough. But I'm actually going to try and choose quite a difficult way to explain it to yourselves. But this is because this is what's really at stake. I want you to understand that, of course, by going to a gathering of knowledge, there are blessings. Let me give you the easy ones first. The angels are present there. Allah has special angels which survey the globe, and when they see a gathering of remembrance of His name, then they come and attend it. And then they envelop the whole gathering with their wings of mercy. And so you are in the company of the angels. And once the gathering disperses and finishes, the angels go back to Allah, and they are asked by Allah, even though Allah knows best the reality. He doesn't need to ask anyone any questions. He says, where have you come from? They say, from this gathering. What was happening there? They were celebrating your praise and learning about your deen. Have they seen my paradise? No, they haven't. If they saw my paradise, what would happen? They'd increase only in the remembrance of you, O Allah. Had they seen the hellfire? No, they haven't. If they saw it, what would happen? They'd increase. Oh, my angels, be witnesses, I have forgiven them all. It's a pretty big bounty and blessing that awaits those who attend the gatherings of learning and remembrance. You might think, yeah, but I might not be fully in it. This hadith mentions it. The angels who respond to Allah saying, oh Allah, there was so-and-so that was just in the corner. He just came for, because he's a bit tired. He came to meet someone. He came for some other purpose. For the refreshments that are afterwards being served in some places. Then, Allah responds saying, Humul qawm, there are one people, whoever's in that gathering, la yashqa bihim jalisun. No one will miss out by being there. Even just being present, we're not meant to be present in a half-hearted way, but even being present in a half-hearted way, you end up being completely included. That's a pretty big blessing. You're in the masjid, another huge blessing. You catch the jama'ah with it, another huge blessing. And I can go on and fill a khutbah and several khutbahs like this. But what I want to explain to you is something else, brothers. And the way I'm going to explain this is by giving you my own small example first. I used to, for a few years, commute between London each week for more than once, 2 or 3 days. I'd be going to Cambridge and teaching in a college there, Islamic studies, to all Muslim students. And they were full-time, actually studying 6 days a week, full-time, more or less, of their own volition, obviously, adults who were studying, and though the classes started around 9:30, 9 o'clock, and they finish at 6 p.m., they would more or less be up from Fajr, getting ready and trying to refresh their memories, and then they're off studying until I arrive in class and I'm teaching for several hours, and then I head home, and then they're staying there until Isha, more or less. I also, in tandem to those classes there, I had some classes in London, and those they're in the East End, and those classes, these students were part-time, also very worthwhile. But what I want to explain to you, these students who are part-time, they're working and studying, and they're trying to do whatever they can in the evening. They were very good. But for the comparison between the full-time students versus those students studying part-time, the syllabus was similar. It's quite similar. But my experience teaching was not the same. There was something good here which was not there, something good there which was not here. But let me tell you what was good in Cambridge, or in the full-time, forget the place, it doesn't matter which city it's in. The full-time students had something extra in one respect. They were always training, if you imagine it, mentally training on this Islamic content. Training is probably not the right word, but they were warmed up. When I came, I didn't have to warm them up afresh. They were ready to go. Because they were not out of it. I didn't have to ease them into the new content. Remember what we covered last week? Who can remind me? They were there already. Mentally, they're already there. Do you all understand what I'm trying to say? Now, what I want to explain to you is this. They were studying to be students of knowledge and to become, inshallah, scholars and serve the community, etc. But we have our own individual project, which is our own personal Islam and Iman, each one of us here. If we don't make sure we have a mechanism, we don't have to be full-time like those guys, or part-time like those guys, but we do have to have a system where when the words of Allah are recited, it doesn't sound so strange to us that we don't understand what's even being said. And it feels almost foreign. And the way to avoid that is you have to understand, you have to keep yourself warmed up. You know, actually, if I could give you a separate khutbah on a totally different topic, and I don't want to confuse you all, so please forgive me, even about health, we're meant to stay moving. If you stay stationary, you're going to age a lot faster. But Islamically, you're going to slow down to the point where you're feeling cold, you don't understand what's going on when the words of Allah, your Lord, are being recited, if you don't keep contact with it. And nowadays, our methods of keeping it fresh and warmed up are many. You can literally have something in your ear playing as you're going for a walk. Recitation of the Quran. Recitation of the Quran with English, if you feel you need that instead. A lecture, a podcast series. The circle in the masjid. You need to keep it warm. And that way, and you will not necessarily see the effects of that. Just like someone who's being healthy doesn't always understand what he would have lost out or she would have lost out if they're having the wrong sort of diet, the wrong sort of lifestyle. But trust me, you are benefiting. And everyone else can see you benefiting. Perhaps you understand your benefit partially. They can see the difference. Just the way when someone's running on the road, you can't see. They're feeling the pain, after a while their legs are hurting, but they're becoming healthy. We see them, and we think, wow, we wish we could be like that. Have the discipline to wake up at 6:30 a.m. and go for a run in the cold, and go on for a few miles, and not have any issue. And enjoy a good, blessed, healthy life. Now I want to move on to the actual examples. The reason why I'm giving this khutbah is because obviously having this healthy discipline of learning and attending and listening is what will keep you on the straight path, on the Surat al-Mustaqim. And Surat al-Mustaqim has levels to it. Yes, there's a basic level of, which is important, the most valuable level, that you worship Allah, you don't worship false gods, you pray the 5 daily prayers. But you will still feel often quite lost unless you are turning to that book of guidance for guidance. I'm going to give you some very specific examples now, brothers. And this will require your full attention. Maybe like nothing else in this whole week or month. And even as I tell you it, it's difficult for me to say it and difficult for you to hear it and understand. I want to share with you a particular sort of message which is found in many places in the Quran. but we do not understand it. And when we understand it, it doesn't settle in us because we're not warmed up. All I'm going to do is I'm going to present the message to you. Maybe you'll understand it and you'll say, actually, alhamdulillah, I'm warmed up. Maybe you won't, and it won't even stick with you, but then you have to remember the lesson to take away from the khutbah. Warm yourself up more often, will then benefit from this message. I don't usually address, what's called current affairs and the like. I don't think that's what I need to do here in the khutbah. But I want to address something today. You see scenes on social media, if they've been verified, or news, which are sometimes horrific, from one country after another country after another country. And sometimes you ask yourself the question, where's the justice in this? Why is this happening? And what you don't understand is all answers are there in the Quran itself. It sounds like something you'd hear, being said, generation after, oh, it's all there in the Quran. I'm telling you it's actually there. And I'm going to mention to you what's there, but you'll understand why you don't see it there. Because it's not how we think. We do not think like the Quran. We do not think like the guidance. Allah says, there are things in the Quran, there are things in life that happen, and they are hidden forms of punishment from Allah. But we haven't learned to see it that way. I'll give you an example. According to the Quran, thus according to Allah, if someone is doing lots of sins and they still keep getting lots of blessings of ease, of wealth, then you should be certain, not certain as in you're casting a definitive judgment, but you should understand either the person is not committing sins or they're doing lots of tawbah afterwards, means they're actually a really good person. Or actually, if they are the person that you're seeing on the screen who's a tyrant and killing people and doing this, and they're still getting blessings and ease and getting away with it, then this itself is the hidden punishment from Allah. That they're far away from Allah and He's not even giving them a reason to turn back to Him. He cares about them so little, He's humiliating them by letting them think that they're benefiting in blessings and they are ruining them dunya and the akhirah. If we're not in a khutbah, if this is a circle, I'd say to you, hands up, who amongst us thinks like this? I think not one of us. The reason is only one reason. We are not warmed up with the revelation of Allah. We haven't become attuned to it, acclimatized to it. It's foreign to us. I'll give you another example. And the ayat are there. I'll mention some of the ayat in a second. But another example would be the fact that, let me recite the ayat. Allah mentions, He says, in their hearts is a disease. And Allah increases that disease. You see the person who's kind of doing this and that, and they're doing more and more, and you're thinking, subhanAllah, they're getting away with it. This is a hidden punishment. And you're thinking, what about me? I'm trying to be good, and when I go slightly wrong, then I end up with this ticket or that ticket or this problem. That's because Allah wants to bring you back. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying this as a khutbah. I'm saying this to you as a point that the Quran presents to you and me. He says that we sent them trials and tribulations. This is for the good people, in order that they turn back. We hear it and it's like it bounces off our ears because we're not used to that. We are used to thinking, if they are good, they should get a good life. Good according to what we think is good. Not good according to what Allah thinks. They're doing this bad and that bad and they're destroying countries and nothing's happening to them. SubhanAllah, who told you nothing's happening to them? Allah says, وَيَمُدُّهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانٍ. He keeps extending the rope with which they are misguiding themselves. And this is their punishment in this world before a further punishment. So we don't understand the language of the Quran, and I don't mean the Arabic language alone. Of course, the Arabic language is very important, but we haven't warmed ourselves up to listening and looking in the revelation again and again, such that we make the revelation the lenses with which we see our life. There's a whole concept the Quran teaches, not a concept, a teaching, istidraj, where He says, سَنَسْتَدْرِجُهُمْ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. We'll do istidraj them in a way where they don't even know. It'll come from where they don't even understand. That they're doing sins, major sins, intentionally, rebelliously, and Allah gives them further ease. And that will only give them further punishment in the hereafter and further alienation in their soul from knowing Allah. I'll give you the last example, brothers and sisters. When we see and I right now am feeling what I'm about to say to you, it could make me cry, and the reason I'm about to cry is not for the reason that you'd like me to be crying for. I'm about to tell you that when you see the devastating pictures of a person who's lost their home and everything's lost, that is a terrible ordeal. But according to Allah's book, to not know Allah, to be deprived of worshipping Him in this world, is a punishment far worse than that punishment. That punishment is far worse than the fate of the one who's lost everything else in this life. I feel like crying for one reason, because when even I, as the Khatib, hearing this, saying this, it does not really sink deep in my mind yet. And that for me is something concerning and worrying. It's something worthy of me crying over my own soul. How can I not understand this? Because we need to warm up to and make the revelation real for us. That the blessing of guidance is so great, it is greater than any other blessing. And the loss of losing the guidance of Iman, Islam and worship is greater than losing everything else. In fact, this is in the Quran, it's in the Hadith. The Prophet said, to lose Salat al-Asr itself, man fatathu Salat al-Asr, فَكَأَنَّمَا وُتِرَ أَهْلُهُ وَمَالُهُ. It's as if the person's lost their wealth and all their family. Just Salat al-Asr. Let alone then of not praying. Let alone then of not knowing Allah. That person's lost everything. When we learn to see life in this way, we live our whole life entirely different. In terms of not actions being different, our emotions will be totally different. We won't have time for complacency. We won't have time for self-pity. And we won't be wasting time with so many questions saying, oh, why is it like this? Actually, the answers are there. Why it is like this. Let us renew our relationship with the revelation of Allah. بارك الله لكم في القرآن المجيد ونفعني وإياكم بما فيه من آيات الذكر الحكيم. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين كل ذنب فاستغفروه وتوبوا إليه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وكفى وصلاة وسلام دائما على عبد النبي المصطفى وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. My respected brothers, sisters in Islam and Iman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never asked His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to ask him for an increase of anything in this world, except for one thing. He said to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. Oh my Lord, Master, increase me in knowledge. We hear this and we're thinking, why? It is the knowledge which enables a believer to see life and understand it, to hear revelation and connect with it instantly. That knowledge, which we think, what's the point of knowledge? That's the reason. The scholars of Islam said, had there been no fadila or virtue of knowledge and learning, except for the fact that Allah told His servant Muhammad, the messenger Muhammad to increase in knowledge, that would be sufficient marker of its distinguished status. It's not something which is abstract, it's for our own life. So let us take the example of Muhammad being told by Allah, by him to ask for more knowledge. And let that then be our reason to say we have to find a way. Through listening more during the week to Quran, listening more to the translation as well, reading it if we can, attending the circle, being part of something ongoing. We need to have a clear goal. Say to yourself like this if you need to. It's 2025. I need to come with a new game plan. And this game plan has to be with the goal, the objective, the resolution that I want to be someone who understands, connects with Allah's revelation, understands it, and sees my own personal life through the lens of what Allah has given me of this gift of the Quran. The month of Ramadan is coming up. Let's make this intention and this resolve to be from the people who are connected to the guidance and who instinctively understand our life through the lens of this guidance. ثم صلوا على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين فقد أمركم الله بذلك في كتاب مبين فقال جل من قائل إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد ورضى اللهم عن الصحابة والتابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وعنا معهم بعفوك وجودك وكرمك يا أكرم الأكرمين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى اللهم آت أنفسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها مولاها اللهم أبرم لهذه الأمة أمر رشد يعز فيه أهل طاعتك ويهدى به أهل معصيتك ويؤمر فيه بالمعروف وينهى فيه عن المنكر عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي رب اغفر لوالدينا رب ارحمهم كما ربونا صغارا ربنا أتمم لنا نورنا واغفر لنا إنك على كل شيء قدير اللهم آت أنفسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها مولاها ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وأقم الصلاة